Well, how many of you love vacations? That's actually a silly question. I'm just gonna assume that everyone watching this loves vacations. In fact, studies have shown that this year alone, 80% of American adults plan to travel and go on vacation this summer, and that's about 200 million people. I mean, vacations are a fantastic thing. It's a chance for you to explore somewhere you've never been before, a chance to hang out with family and with friends. It's a chance to do new activities, and also a time to relax and recharge from all the work that you've done, all the work that you are planning still to do. Well, if you're watching this, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Brendan Anderson. I'm the student ministries pastor here at Element Church, and we are talking about activity today. We're talking about vacations and work and what that has to do with our faith. King Solomon actually had this to say when it comes to the balance between work and activity and vacation. In the book of Ecclesiastes, he writes this in chapter 3, that for everything there is a season, a time for every activity under heaven. And then he goes on to list a bunch of different things: a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to harvest, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to cry and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time and a time and a time, and so on and so on. In fact, Solomon, by repeating over and over again that there is a time for each of these things, is really pointing out the fact that sometimes our lives can feel stuck in the routine of seasons, can be stuck in the monotony of what life presents to us. And maybe a lot of you feel this way right now. Like you've been in a season after season of monotony. But what does this have to do with vacations or activities? Well, if we continue on in that same passage, Solomon writes this in verse 9. What do people really get for all their hard work? I've seen the burden God has placed on us all. Yet God has made everything beautiful for its own time. He has planted eternity in the human heart, but even so, people cannot see the whole scope of God's work from beginning to end. So I concluded that there is nothing better than to be happy and enjoy ourselves as long as we can. And people should eat and drink and enjoy the fruits of their labor, for these are gifts from God. There's something incredibly poetic about this chapter and how Solomon is presenting these truths to us, because he knows the struggle that life can sometimes have. He's seen the hard work that goes into life, the burden that it can be. And yet he also understands that God has placed this yearning for eternity in our hearts that we won't ever see come to pass. So we're left with hard work that ultimately won't ever satisfy the longing for eternity that God has planted in us. I mean, so what's the answer to these struggles? Well, it isn't burying ourselves in more hard work. It's to be happy and enjoy ourselves. Solomon says to eat and drink and enjoy the fruits of our labor, for these are gifts from God. And that sounds like a vacation to me. Basically, work hard at the things God has given you in this life and then go on vacation. Because just like God has given us work to do, He's also given us passions and hobbies and interests that make life fun to live. So where do we find Jesus in all of this? Is He waiting for us to return from vacation back to the church that we call home? Is He waiting for us back at our jobs? Is He disappointed that we are wasting time doing things that we find fun? No. You see, Jesus is on vacation, not like taking a break from us, although there are times that I feel like Jesus might want to take a break from spending time with me. No, Jesus and our faith are still just as important and present when we are out camping or visiting Disney or at a baseball game or kayaking as He is when we are at home in our routines. You see, next week we're starting a series called Jesus on Vacation, and we're going to be looking at hobbies, at leisure activities, things that we do on vacation, and how those things can actually bring us closer to God and our faith. How when we go on vacation, Jesus comes too. So I want to leave you guys with this. It's a verse from Ecclesiastes a little later on in the book, chapter 8, verse 15, which says, "So I recommend having fun, because there is nothing better for people in this world than to eat, drink, and enjoy life. That way they will experience some happiness along with all the hard work God gives them under the sun." So if you're on vacation, enjoy it. Praise God. Draw closer to Jesus as you have fun and enjoy life. And if you're here in town, well, and I hope to see you next week.